What do you want to do with the second half of your life? How do you want to live it? Who do you want to be? Those are the things that we're going to talk about in this video. And I'm going to give you 3 things that's going to help you live your dream life in midlife and beyond. So let's get into it. So, number 1 is self reflection. And I know this can sound quite surface level, but we're actually going to move past some surface level things and we're going to go a little deeper in this video. But this is extremely important, and it's definitely come up for you, I'm sure, if you're in midlife or beyond, because these are the questions we start to ponder when we get into midlife. Because, shit starts getting real, right? So we have to really start going within and doing a little soul searching, to be honest. And it's not always pretty. And what we find sometimes is not what we expected to find. But the answer is to go inward and to not go outward. A lot of times we are looking for things outward. We are maybe starting to take care of our physical health. We might join a gym. We might decide a career change. While all of these things are very important and it is all a part of it, and we're going to talk about that too, the first way and in order to move through these transitions is to go inward. Because if you are feeling lost, if you don't even feel like you know yourself anymore, which is how you feel a lot of times when you get to this point in life, you don't even know who you are. You don't know where you want to go. You don't know sometimes even what you want to wear. Maybe you've spent your whole life caring for others. As women, this is how we're conditioned to be, is to neglect ourselves. And it is just a normal thing to do in our society. So we get to a point where it all catches up with us and we realize we're forced to take care of our physical health, our mental health. And then we start questioning a lot of other things. Many times in midlife, this pushes you into a midlife awakening, as I call it. And it can turn into a much deeper awakening, of a spiritual awakening, which is what happened to me right around age 40, which really you're being hit with a double whammy. So if you have been through a lot of stressful events, if you're going through a stressful time in midlife, many times that pain is going to push you forward more into deeper awakenings. And those awakenings, they sound pretty and they sound like you're having breakthroughs, but you will have the breakdowns before you hit those breakthroughs. And I'm still in the process I've had many breakthroughs, but many, many more breakdowns. And we're all just in this together. And I hope that just me sharing some of my experiences and some of my wisdom that I've learned along the way, that I can help you as well. So going back to self-reflection, it is important to dive deep into this area. And this time frame is going to be different for everyone. So you're going to have to spend some time with yourself alone and just in the pause and doing a lot of journaling, just sitting in the stillness and really going within and what it is that you really want, who it is that you really want to be, and who have you been all of this time up until this point. And a lot of answers will come along the way. And even though I say to sit in the stillness and in the quiet, that's important, but a lot of things do come along the way when you're starting to take action as well. And so that's why we keep moving forward. And we have these practices of journaling and meditation and quiet time in nature and things like that to really go within and to really have a lot of contemplation, but also taking action along the way. So some of the questions I really like to ask is, what are the things that you really love to do or you once loved to do? Now, if you were like me, if you were going through a very difficult time in your life, maybe you've gone through some depression and you've lost yourself, sometimes you don't even know what it even is that you love to do anymore. And that's where I found myself. So if you're finding yourself in that position, in that place in your life right now, I encourage you to think about the things that you did when you were younger that you loved to do. What made time stop on the clock? What was just fun for you to do that you just automatically did as a kid? I can give an example. Whenever I was a preteen, me and my best friend used to choreograph dance routines all the time. And that was, we would spend hours. We would just lose time, would go past. And we had so many choreographed routines. And to this day, I love to dance. I'm not a professional dancer. I've never had any professional instruction, but that is truly what brings me alive. Even if I just go to a dance fitness class, before I know it, the hour is gone. And music just really brings my soul alive, and being able to move my body with music, that's where I find a lot of joy and what lights me up. So I've had to find my way back to that in ways that of things like dance fitness. And so thinking of things that you used to do, another thing that I used to do is I used to write poetry as a young teenager, and I got out of doing that. But one of the things that I'm looking at doing now is starting to write. And I love to read, and I love to read just beautiful lyrical, flowery type prose and poetry. And those are the things that really light my soul up. And so while I don't feel like that I'm good at it, it's not something that I've spent my life doing, I want to go back into, bringing out that inner child of me and bringing out that spark. And so for you, I encourage you to find what it is that brings out the inner child, the inner teen, what sparks a joy in you, and go with that. And it might take a little bit of trying different things. Sometimes it's going to be trying something new completely. But I would start with some of the things that you love to do when you were a kid and that you find yourself either not having time for, or you just stopped doing because life. So that number 2 is overcoming fear and doubt and self-sabotage. And I don't really love using the word overcoming, just because sometimes you are moving along and things are changing in a good way, and maybe you're not completely overcome. Maybe you haven't completely overcome your doubt, but you're still taking action and you're still moving and making changes in your life. So this is very important, though, because what keeps us from doing so many things is our beliefs about ourselves. And many times this gets very amplified in midlife. And I think that is because our physical body, for instance, is going through so many changes that we lose a lot of our confidence that we once had. And like I said before, we lose ourselves in a lot of ways. And sometimes you just lose that strength of who you are and that confidence just to be out in the world and to try new things. And to sometimes you don't even feel good at the things that you once did or always did without even thinking about it. So you're most likely operating your life from a lot of deeply rooted beliefs about yourself. And I won't go into that in this video, but if you do carry a lot of trauma that you have not overcome yet, or that you have not worked through or healed, those things can be holding you back as well. That has been the case for myself. And with that case, I definitely encourage you to find professional help, whether it be a therapist or a life coach or someone that specializes in trauma healing, because that usually does take additional work. It always will take additional work. And those are other things I'm going to share in other videos. But for this video, we'll keep it a little bit more simple. So overcoming those things. And for me, it's understanding that I do have a lot of fear. I have a lot of fears of failures. I have a lot of I have a lot of fear of even success, which sounds crazy. But for me, the reason why, this is an example for me. So where I have been in a complete state of overwhelm and burnt out, that I have a fear of working too hard. Being successful equals overworking yourself, if that makes sense. So I've worked extremely hard in my life, in my career, and as a parent, and I have frankly burnt myself out. So trying something new, starting a new career path, that is something that my nervous system is not comfortable with, right? Something new, it feels uncomfortable in my body, and I'm already in a state of burnout, so it feels even more uncomfortable. And our brain automatically runs on a state of wanting to keep us comfortable. And so it will pull us and sabotage us to trying new things. And so we'll find ourselves back into the same patterns to keep ourselves comfortable, even though it's not comfortable, because maybe you're not happy where you are in your career, for instance. That's not comfortable. But which is more uncomfortable? Starting something new and having a lot of fear around it. And so your brain is just going to naturally want to pull you into its comfort zone because its main goal is to keep you alive. And so it's trying to survive. And so you have to have a lot of self awareness around that, that this is uncomfortable because it is new. But I'm learning at this age to take my fear and my doubt with me. I don't know that I'm going to overcome it. I don't know if we ever fully overcome it, but I think that we can learn to take it with us, and that we can, and I think that we can learn to embrace that part of ourselves. And then also, too, you might be feeling a lot of emotions at this age, going through this stage of your life. Again, you could be going through major transitions, whether you're at the end of a relationship, or maybe you're alone, or you're wanting and desiring a new relationship, or whatever it is, or just being in this transition of your life, of being in your midlife, in your 40s, 50s, 60s. You can carry so many emotions, like fear, like I said before, anger, rage, depression, so many things that can just be running your life. And it's hard to move forward from those things. And so I go through some different steps that I actually, whenever I created a course a few years ago, I kind of came up with a framework for myself. I was on a walk one day and it just downloaded into my brain. And I look at these 4 things when I'm going through anything. And sometimes I use them in different order depending on what it is that I'm going through, but mainly in the order that I'm going to share with you. So in this first order, or in the first step, is to observe. And this is just really around self-awareness. So this is just observing where you have fears, where you have doubts, where you have just patterns of things that are sabotaging you, procrastination or people pleasing, self-neglecting, things that you continue to say yes to, things that you don't want to be doing anymore. Maybe you believe that you can't make money doing anything else other than the career that you've been trained in. These are beliefs that are limiting, and they are not helping you move forward. And if you have some awareness around these, then you're able to start moving past these. And so I also want to add in, when you start to observe these things about yourself, it's important to not judge yourself. That's not what this is for. We carry enough shame, especially around transitions and midlife age and everything else, especially if you're a mom. We don't need more shame. And the only way to get through this is to observe yourself and observe these patterns without judgment and with just some curiosity. That is what I'm finding. And when you start to have a little curiosity, you are able to change things because it's easier, more malleable to change without just that heaviness of the judgment. And just so having a little compassion for yourself. And that takes some practice too. So the number 2 thing in this framework is to allow. So this is to allow or to accept things as they are. Now, this is not a passive thing. This sounds very passive because I had to work through this myself whenever I got this download. And this has been several years ago, 4 years ago, actually. I've had to work through what this really means for me. And when you accept something, it doesn't mean that you are accepting how things are, as far as if someone's not being nice to you or if someone's crossing a boundary. You don't accept it and allow someone to treat you that way, right? That's not what I mean, because we always want to keep our boundaries strong and we never want to allow abuse or anything like that to cross our boundaries. But when we allow and accept, we are allowing and accepting what is at this moment, because what is at this moment is the truth. It is how it is. It is what it is. And we have to move from there. And so if you can get out of the resistance, which is so important, because I have spent so many years being in resistance and wanting things to be so different that you're in a state of contradiction with God, with the universe, with source or spirit. Your frequency is mismatched. And when you're in that state of resistance and wanting things to change, you can't move forward and help things to allow things to move in and change. And it's just like riding those waves instead of, going against the current. It's looking at that as a metaphor. So So the third thing in this framework is embodiment. And it is allowing yourself to feel safe to embody what it is that you want and who it is that you want to become. This again will take some work, and this is going to be different for everyone, and everybody's starting point is different. So again, if you're working with a therapist or a life coach, this may help you to have your nervous system feel safe, because in order to be fully embodied, we do have to feel safe to receive whatever it is that we are desiring and whoever it is that we want to become. And if we don't feel safe in our bodies to do that, we're going to sabotage it. And so to be in full embodiment is to feel safe in our nervous system. And I'm going to make a future video more in depth about this, but for the sake of this video, we'll keep it a little shorter. And then the very last thing is the release phase of the framework. There's the fourth thing. And this is more of a letting go, of a surrendering. And this is also not passive. Sounds very passive. It sounds like you're giving up and waving the white flag. And that is not at all what this is either. This actually takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery in order to surrender, especially if you have, want to just have that strong control your whole life. And we are conditioned to, that's how we are conditioned to run our life too, is to be in control. But ultimately, we're not in control. It's a false sense of security. It makes your nervous system feel better when you feel like you're controlling an outcome. But in the real sense of things, you're not really in control. It just feels like it. And so if we can get into a state of surrendering and letting go of some of that control, and we ride the waves of life, it just feels a little bit easier. And I think things and opportunities come to us a little bit easier than when we are expecting things to be exactly how we expect them to be. And when things don't, we get back into that resistance phase, right? And so we're just constantly sabotaging ourselves. So these things, really going inward and looking at these things is so important. So like I said, fear is a big one. And I like to take the fear with me. And I'm not perfect at this. I'm still working on this. It's a work in progress, but it's something that I am finding that is helping me move forward. So for example, writing, well, I don't feel like I'm good at it. Filming videos, obviously I'm not good at it yet, but I'm taking my fear with me. My soul is wanting to express something so bad in this phase of it's just wanting it so much that it is pushing me forward. I just feel like this urge inside of me to express, and I feel like I need to do it with some type of creative outlet. And this is how I'm choosing to do it. And I'm just choosing to take the fear with me. And I do feel like that I'm going to have some setbacks, some failures. And I feel like that something else that I've learned is, you've probably heard the term failure is only feedback. And I truly believe that to be true. And I feel like that the most successful people view failure as feedback. And I do feel like that the most successful people do take a lot of chances, and they view they view failure as feedback, and they don't see it as a true failure, as a personal failure, which is a lot of how, as our society now, we don't allow ourselves to make mistakes. We feel like we need to be an expert at everything when we very first start. And we don't allow ourselves to be a novice at something when we first start. And it's like, well, I haven't been right my whole life. I didn't major in literature. I didn't major in writing. I didn't really even take any creative writing courses when I went to college. And so I haven't been practicing that. So naturally, I'm going to be a novice. But if I can allow myself, because I love doing it, if I can just allow myself to fail, if I can allow myself to, that it's not perfect, but that I'm just doing it for myself, then that's really what we're after anyway, isn't it? And so I do feel like that not just the most successful people, because success really is a term that has, and that's a different definition for every person. I feel like that the happiest people also are the people that allow themselves to fail and take chances, because they don't see it as a personal failure upon themselves. They, as a person, have just failed this world. And so I say, take it with you. So I talked about I'm taking action. So number three, the third thing is that we do have to take some type of action and create some type of goals or intentions for ourselves so that we have at least some type of target of where we're moving forward. So this isn't a productivity video or a setting goals. This is Ivy, or a setting goals video. And honestly, that is not my forte, but I am working on that as well. But there are many videos out there that can help you with setting smart goals and how to attain those goals. And in fact, there is one book that I absolutely love that's quite life changing. Of course, Atomic Habits. I'm looking on my bookshelf. I don't have that book up there right at the moment, but Atomic Habits and then the 12-week year. Those are two books that are quite helpful. And then, of course, there are many videos out there and many books out there to help you with this. But setting goals, setting some type of target is so important. But when you're doing this, I think it's important to, and you can learn this, and when you read Atomic Habits, is habit stacking. So you're going to start with a goal, something that you already do, a habit that you already do every day. So if you get up every morning and brush your teeth, of course, then what little small habit can you tack onto that? For me, a habit that I made was to go for a sunrise walk every morning after I brush my teeth and all of those things. I added that on, and now it really has just become a part of me. It's just something that I just normally do. I don't even really have to think about it. I just go straight in and put my shoes on, and it's part of it, just like when you get up and brush your teeth or whatever it is that you do on autopilot. So we form these habits, and when you can add little small habits towards your goal, then I think that's what's life changing. Because a lot of times we want the major change, the major end outcome fast, and we want to see it immediately. And that's the world we live in, where everything is fast. But that's not really where the real change is anyway. So even if you achieved something very fast, a lot of times we lose it. A lot of people lose it because it's not sustainable. It's not something that is ingrained into their being. So you're changing yourself. And this is what goes back to, who do you want to become as you're doing this? Because all of this is for something much deeper than just achieving a goal, right? So who is it that you want to become along the way? And I find that just doing small things that make me feel good, and doing small things each day and just really doing that 1% each day makes a difference. And you may have times where you fall off, and I think that's where we have to step in and give ourselves compassion, because we're human, and get back on. So the other part of, and like I said, I'm not going deep into setting goals, obviously, but the other part of this is visualizing yourself with these things and visualizing the person that you want to be and how you show up in the world. And I think this is a huge part of it. And this just really is something that you can incorporate every day into your life that can take less than 5 minutes. I think you can jot down who it is that you see yourself being, what type of clothes that you wear, what type of foods are you eating, who are the type of people that you associate yourself with, what type of activities do you do, what is your career? Do you want a career change? How do you interact with the people around you, with your loved ones, with strangers? Write those things down and visualize yourself, and sit down every day for 5 minutes, put on some meditative type music or just in quiet stillness with headphones so that you are able to focus and visualize that person. Visualize that higher version of you, if you will, of who it is that you want to become. And I think that a lot of high profile athletes do this all the time. They have visualization practices. Kobe Bryant used to do this. Lots of successful people use visualization as part of their success, and they're part of their habits that they do to reach the goals that they want. So we're getting to the end of the video, and I hope that this video helped you. And I want to make more videos. I can't wait till I'm getting more comfortable in front of the camera and better with editing and stuff like that to make these better for you to be able to watch and to learn something, and that we can have this journey together. But if you are here, thank you. And if you like the video, subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and share it with somebody else. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.